I've seen them go too far out of their way for people. Mm-hmm. I've seen them take food to people. My daddy told me about him writing Ainsley and Brooklyn's teachers' thank you notes suddenly, randomly, a few weeks ago. And I'm just like, I'm never going to be able to live up to this. So let me do my little stuff. Mm-hmm. And hopefully one day I'll get to that status, because they are so giving that it is almost sickening. I mean, if that's possible.
Right.
So they definitely inspire me to be a force for good. If I'm thinking, another surface one is Michelle Obama, because we definitely have kind of the same heart as far as mentoring. Mm-hmm. Like, mentorship is a really big part of all that she does. And I care about that. And I guess if I'm going not so surface, you're supposed to give about 10 of them, then by the 10th one you get to
not 10.
Sorry. That's a strategy when you're doing data analysis and you're trying to figure out the causes. You got to go 10 deep. Yeah. I feel like my seeing injustices in the world, those inspire me to be a force of good. Mm-hmm. Because when I see people getting frustrated or getting hurt or being sad, it pushes me more to do good for the world. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like a lot of people, they don't talk about it. I mean, they're not about it. They just talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, people always run their mouths on social media, but I don't see anybody putting in the work.
Right.
So I just don't ever want to be the one that's only talking about and complaining about things if I'm not putting action towards it. So, seeing the injustices in our society and seeing people being done wrong, that actually does inspire me to be a force for good. Mm-hmm. The end.
Those are good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Okay.
It's coming right back at you. Pew, pew.
So the last book that I've been reading is Into the Wilderness. I have it here.
Ooh, let me see it.
No, Braving the Wilderness, Brene Brown. Mm-hmm. And she talks about in the book how she's a writer, so creating her content, she's just like, she used to write for all the critics. Like, I'm going to write this so then they won't have anything to say, or, imagining all the critics and hitting all their critiques and all their comments and all their social media negativity and writing for that. And she was like, what she found was,
oh my gosh, I love this.
Yeah. What she found was, it was just, what she ended up producing was just this basic stuff. So then she says she turned her audience into a collection of authors that she loves the most. So she was like, Oprah shows up, Maya Angelou shows up, and she like literally sets up all their books and uses that as her audience. And she's like, that was her motivation to create these really good and like challenging books, because her audience is the people who inspire her the most, not the people who critique her the most.
Amen.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that is amazing, first of all. And, I'm just in the beginning of the book, but I think
I was about to say, you didn't even tell me. We like to read the same books at the same time. Yeah,
I just started yesterday at volleyball practice.
Good. I'll catch up with you on my journey.
Yes, do that. And we can talk about it. But so that being said, that was a great little plug for that book. But I would say that I must have been raised, and I think that my grand was the one that definitely was always talking about doing right. And I think that she put that into my mother, and my mother, of course, put it into me. Mm-hmm. But I had a chance to live with my grandmother for a year when I was in kindergarten. And I just remember, like you said, like, there was we did not have Christmas with just our family ever. I don't remember ever. We didn't have Thanksgiving with our family ever. Like, there was always more people so much that I still call those people my cousins when we're all grown. And it was like, I know that they weren't, but I know that they were. So she was always doing good. Always, always, always. And I feel like being an example of good is a goal. Like, so my children, I want them to see that I'm doing the right thing. So that's a motivation for them to see me doing what's right, so then they can live their lives right.
I agree.
And also the students I teach.
Yes.
So it's like setting a good example, even for my husband, because I feel like sometimes he'll walk that line, and I'm just like, that's not right, and that's not good. And he'll be like, oh, I always trying to do what's right, or you always try, and it's like, it's not that, it's just something inside of me that's like, this is wrong or this is right. So I guess, like, yes, my grandmother, but my parents also, they weren't playing a whole bunch of sneaky shyster type of stuff. They were straight line, and if you can't get it the right way, you just can't get it. So
I agree.
I think that is an important lesson that I struggle to teach my kids about, and especially my students. Like, right is right and wrong is wrong.
Absolutely.
It's hard. So what was the question? Who motivates you?
To do good, to be a force for good.
A force for good. So yeah, I do think that it's like, you know, the next generation definitely is the type that are inspiring me to impart good and show good so that they can also do good. Yeah. And I agree with you. Injustices. I think I developed an empathic gene from my mom, who was like, feels for people. Like, you see someone struggling and it's like, oh, it hurts me just as bad to see you struggling. So let's try to do something about it, and not just like, I can't sit by and let someone just be in pain, hurting, suffering, poor, you know, all that stuff without trying to do something. Yeah. So I think that also drives the force of good. I don't know anyone who is just not good on purpose, though. I don't want you to mention anyone that you know that's not good on 45. I don't know him. I don't know who that is. But, like, personally, like...
Yeah, I mean, okay. You're right. I guess the thing is that it's not that they're not being good, not doing good on purpose. They're not doing anything to contribute either. That's the thing.
Yeah, you're right. I know people who are selfish and they want to keep everything to themselves. Right. They might be doing good for them.
Right.
But are you really doing good
for their little tribe?
Yeah.
But they're not reaching out to really help others.
To share, to help.
Beyond their circle. Like, beyond their family or beyond their kids or beyond, like, to me, in order for us to really make a change in this world, we have to go beyond our circle and really kind of branch out into giving.
I feel like beyond our comfort zone.
Yes, giving beyond our comfort zone. Because
if it's easy to give to your church, like, you can write a check and that be fine, and then you're like, good, I did the good. But, like, to really actually be out there and sweating and, grinding, showing love and touching people who stink, or, you know, whatever it is, like, whatever you might be uncomfortable with, if you're willing to step out of your comfort to help, I feel like that is more good.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to judge, but I just feel like
it's just that, is it as much of an investment if all you're doing is writing a check? Do you really have a personal connection, a soul connection, like a heart connection with somebody if you're just writing a check to them? I don't think so.
Right. Or if you're just praying.
And it's not as big of an impact either. I don't think it's as big of an impact. Like, I mean, knowing that people are praying for me and then them coming to bring me a cup of coffee. And I know that sounds so, like, internish, but, like...
Right.
Like, for instance, one of my teachers, she, and, you know, this is not required by far, but she knew I had a horrible day yesterday.
Right.
And she knew that I had already hit the ground running as soon as the morning hit this morning.
Right.
I walk up the steps, and this is a small, very small scale of what we're talking about. But she has a servant's heart, and she had a cup of coffee waiting for me on my desk, and that made me feel so loved. And like that could be her thing where she's like, instead of complaining about the principals not ever having time to come by and see us, maybe I should just stop for a moment and do something. Like that to me means so much more than her giving me a $50 gift card to Starbucks. Like you went and fixed a cup of coffee for me. Like, and and I got to see her face to face, and I went and hugged her. Like something about that person connection just elevates the purpose, I guess, a little bit to me.
Right. Man, everyone doesn't necessarily like recognize that kind of love or whatever, but you know, I don't know. Something
to be said about donating time and effort, because it didn't take you no time to put that amount in that
cash
electronic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That was good. I like that topic. What are you now? The next question for the next topic is going to be, what are you passionate about?
Oh,
what will you go out of your way for? I like it. Don't answer, because that's going to be a next.
Oh, is that our question of the week?
I like it.
Okay. Remind me of that so I can.
I am so
have everyone else weigh in also.
I'm so curious. That should be our little call in.
Yep.
I love it.
And we do have a voicemail that we will post on there. I don't have the number right off the bat, but definitely if you're wanting to contribute your thoughts or share your opinions or whatever, please go ahead and send a voicemail. It works out really cute, and we'll have you sounding nice and
clear,
and your name or not, if you're scared or not, to be on our podcast. So that's cool. Whew. Okay, so that was good. I like to think about us being on the same page as far as being good people. Okay, so I'm glad that we're just on the same page as far as being good and whatnot, and recognizing good and putting good to action.
It's neat. Both of our mommies and daddies inspired us.
They're good people.
Yeah, and somebody was talking about the same thing that you were talking about as far as trying to set that example for our children, because they really are watching. And it's funny, as I reflect back on who I was around growing up, be it with my grandmama or my uncles, or they always hit, and clearly now that I'm an educator, I can say they always had students with disabilities around them. There was always yes, my dad, hired people with disabilities to help, like who would have been SWD for us, or IEP, who would have had an IEP. Like they always had people around us like that. And I'll never forget, there was this guy that was congrats, he couldn't read, and he was what would have been called a student with disabilities. And I, at 11, told him I would teach him how to read, and I started trying to teach him how to read. And it's just funny because we always talk about, if we look at our past experiences, it really does shape who we are now. And guess who I'm in the school fighting for? Students with disabilities. So, but had I not been around, and I appreciate that in my parents now, because they're still around. They still have adults with disabilities around them now. And my babies are also being exposed to that population, where they know to have empathy and love and kindness for people who are not just like them, even in that way. Because sometimes we think that we only need to teach our kids to have empathy and love for people who aren't the same race as them. But like, what if it's a gay person? What if it's a person with disabilities? What if it's an autistic kid? What if it's, which is the same as with the disability? But we all have differences, and I do know that my parents, seeing them with those people growing up, helped me be able to have an open heart. Now
you're making me think about who my children are around. They don't, but I did grow up around lots of different people that, you know, they weren't like not different races, but
Right.
it was normal because we had a really good family friend who had Down syndrome. So
Yeah.
for me, that was normal to see. It wasn't
Right.
like a show, or it wasn't,